I'm going to call the meeting to order, please. Councillor Ogden, to your seat. Calling Councillor Ogden. Just joking, Councillor. He's reading my land acknowledgement tonight. Okay, we are going to start this evening with a land acknowledgement, and Councillor Ogden is going to read that for us this evening. So over to you, Councillor.
The land on which the city of St. John, or Mennequest, is situated is the traditional territory of the Wolastoqey. The Wolastoqey, along with their indigenous neighbors, the Mi'kmaq and the Pescataway, signed peace and friendship treaties with the British Crown in the 1700s that protected their rights to lands and resources. Could we please reflect for a moment?
Okay, can I ask everyone to please stand for the national anthem? Okay, welcome everyone this evening. It's October 15th. The days are going by fast. I just want to make note that Councillor Redwan will be joining us virtually this evening. Councillor Harris and Councillor Redwan are both have other commitments tonight, so they, or sorry, Councillor Harris and Councillor, Killen. So I've got one on virtual and two that are away. Thank you. Okay, City Clerk, over to you for the next item.
Thank you, Your Worship. Next item is 2.1 on your agenda, the approval of minutes of October 1st.
The Deputy and Councillor Hickey on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Next item.
Next is the approval of the agenda, and there are three items from Committee of the Whole. The first one would be 17.1, Bill of Sale Equipment, Damascus Restaurant. 17.2, amended zoning requirement in APS of former Bellier Arena. And 17.3, date of coming into force for stop-up and closure of Retail Drive.
Okay, thank you. I take a motion to approve the agenda. Councillor Sullivan and the Deputy on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Next item.
Next is disclosures of conflict of interest, if we have any.
Councillor Stewart, over to you.
It would be 17.3 coming out of Committee of the Whole and 5.6.
5.6. Oh, right. Okay, yeah. Councillor Redwan.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, 5.6 and 17.3 as well.
Okay, so perfect. So I guess what we'll do is we'll do everything except 5.6. Correct.
So what we'll do is we'll remove 5.6 from the consent agenda, and it will fall under item 14, consideration of issues separated from consent agenda.
Okay.
So it would become 14.1.
All right. Okay. Next item, City Clerk?
Thank you. Next is the consent agenda.
Deputy, over to you for the consent agenda.
Thank you, Worship. So I'll move 5.1 through to 5.5 and 5.7 and 5.8.
Okay, I'll take a seconder on that. Councillor Stewart, or Councillor Sullivan. Councillor Lowe, over to you.
Yeah, could I have the city manager explain 5.8, please?
5.8, okay. CAO, over to you.
Thank you. Good evening, Your Worship. Staff are recommending postponing the scheduled public hearing for the Spruce Lake Industrial Park expansion, currently scheduled to take place on November 12th, 2024, following concerns from Laurenville community residents and recommendation that we received from Planning Advisory Committee. Instead, it is recommended that a task force of City of St. John and Laurenville community leaders be established to facilitate further discussion and to provide information that will inform recommendations to council at a later date.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Sullivan, did you have a question?
No question, Your Worship. Just a comment on 5.8. I really appreciate the recommendation that's in our kit. For anybody who tuned into PAC, it was a long but very informative discussion, and it was a very respectful discussion with the Laurenville community. And I appreciate that staff took the recommendation so seriously and so quickly to get it on tonight's agenda. I think there's definitely a path forward and a conversation that can be had, so looking forward to seeing the results.
Thank you. Councillor Norton, did you have a question?
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted to comment on 5.8 as well. Thank you to the Laurenville community that came out during PAC and for what seems like a satisfactory resolution coming out of the PAC to council and those community members that are here this evening to see where this goes forward. So hopefully this is satisfactory to them as well.
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, this does align us. All right, so I will call the question. I have a mover and a seconder on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Next item, City Clerk. Oh, well, you know what I should do? So everyone that's here from Laurenville understands that the November 12th is going to be postponed, right? So there's nothing happening tonight. And on November 12th, which was going to be the public hearing here, which would be similar to what happened at PAC, is now on hold. A task force will be put together, Laurenville residents, city staff, to find out what the rub is with this, and is there a path forward, and how do we go forward? So we've just voted on that as a team to delay the November 12th public hearing. That won't happen now till into the new year, most likely. So you're certainly welcome to stay. We'd love to have a bit of an audience. It's usually empty out there when we look out, but you're certainly also welcome to leave, and we can wait a few minutes if you want to, if you want to split or if you'd like to stay. So it's up to you. I don't want to rush you. So John. Couple of diehards left out there. Okay, City Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. Next is members' comments.
Members' comments? First up, Councillor Sullivan.
Thanks, Your Worship. Just really, well, for those still in attendance and those at home, just a reminder, we've got an important provincial election coming up. Best of luck to the candidates who are from council. But to share my limited amount of wisdom being involved in politics, well over 90% of the politicians, elected officials I have run into in my career really and truly care about their community, their province, their ward, their country. And it really is about a difference of opinion on how to move it forward. So important to respect everybody and thank everybody who has put their name forward. Make sure you do your research and vote for what you think is going to be the best to move the province forward, but most importantly, vote. And just as a follow-up to that, We happen to have the secretary of UNBSJ's politics committee with us tonight in the audience. And they held a very successful Q&A roundtable with the candidates for St. John Harbor this past week. So it's really nice to see young folks and the folks at our university staying tuned in with our politics. And so feel free to say hi to her after the meeting.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hickey, over to you.
Thanks, Your Worship. Now I want to know who your other 10% are, Councillor Sullivan. Your Worship, I just wanted to bring light to the new Human Development Council numbers that are our dashboard on homelessness, up to a new pretty staggering record of 398 individuals experiencing homelessness in St. John right now. Continues to be, I think, the most pressing issue in this community, and one that we continue to need to take action on, and we'll get there. But in the meantime, we've got an incredible problem in our community of what is sure to top 400 next month, and in comparison to this time last year, was only at 224. So we know how much worse this problem is getting in the community, and how and the exponential impact it's having on our neighborhoods as well.
Thank you, Councillor. I have Councillor Redwine on the screen. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor. So a couple of things. The Chamber of Commerce Mixer is being headed up this Thursday, October 17th from 4 until 6. It's going to be held at Delbray Florist at 55 Ross Avenue this time. As well, I'm quite excited that we're going to have our first powwow in St. John. So the Mediquist powwow is happening Saturday and Sunday, October 26th and 27th from 12 until 6 p.m. at TD Station. I think the event's going to be amazing, like absolutely amazing. And the event is free for the public, and I highly recommend people attend. I was worried maybe one of the St. John High teachers might mention it, but I just wanted to say my sympathies to family and friends of Mr. Richard Thorne, who was actually my vice principal when I was at St. John High School, and I was sad to hear of his passing.
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, the council would send their condolences to the family as well. He was well known throughout the community, that's for sure. Deputy?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to take a moment. We were at the Union of Municipalities of New Brunswick on October the 4th, I think it was. I want to congratulate one of our neighbor mayors. Mayor Merrifield from Grand Bay is now the president of UMNB. And I'm sure she's going to represent everybody very well. So congratulations, Mayor Merrifield. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. That's it for my council. I'll just quickly say that I did a presentation this morning to Exit Realty about all of the developments that are going on in St. John. And it's when you put them all together in one package, it's pretty impressive of what's happening, of what's been approved and what's being built right now, what's been approved and what's still in the pipeline, and then what's in the pipeline coming down, what's happening with provincial projects. So there's a lot going on in St. John, and it's great to get the word out. I will quickly mention that we also lost another citizen last week, and that was Margaret Gordon. And I had been to her birthday in January. Councillor Hickey and Councillor Lowe and myself, we went together. So she celebrated 100 years on January the 6th. And I think I told this story. I said to her, Margaret, what is your secret? Because she looked so good. And she said, I buy the big $10 cans of Pond's cold cream. So I immediately went out and got myself a jar of that. But Margaret was a force to be reckoned with. Councillor Hickey would be well aware of her. She was a huge, huge Liberal. It didn't matter who was representing the Liberals. She was Liberal through and through, and she did all kinds of work for the Liberals. She was supposed to vote on Friday, and Hickey's now worried he's going to lose by one vote, and he's going to lose Margaret's vote. So no, she was a wonderful person, and I knew Margaret for a lot of years because she and I both went to St. John the Baptist Church, and that's where I first met Margaret down there. So she was a great, great woman, but she was a force to be reckoned with. So I send our condolences to her family as well. Okay, City Clerk, next item, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Next on the agenda is a presentation, item 8.1 on your agenda, from Port City Power Basketball, and we have Jamie Dobbelstein presenting.
Jamie, come on down, as they say.
Thank you for having me, Your Worship, honorable councilors and city staff and all the citizens who are watching today. Again, my name is Jamie Dobbelstein. I'm a son of St. John, born and raised here. I raised a family here. I have businesses here. All of my brothers and sisters live here, and there's 6 in our family. So we love St. John. I'm making this presentation on behalf of the Port City Power. We're looking for a sponsorship from the City of St. John for our Port City Power professional basketball team. And I'll just read through this, so that's fine.
Perfect.
I need these. So we play in a league called the Basketball League. Basketball League is a 40-plus team league, mainly in the United States. It has been operating for 7 years. Teams include Albany, Raleigh, Tampa Bay, Los Angeles, Seattle, Indianapolis, and Vancouver. It is owned by Evelyn and Dave Magley. Evelyn is the first African-American woman to own a professional league. The Basketball League is dedicated to deliver world-class professional basketball experience to our community, fans, and business partners. We provide communities with a professional basketball team that gives an affordable, quality, family entertainment experience, provide players with educational opportunities to learn from nationally acclaimed life skills classes for financial literacy, health and wellness, nutrition, preventative medicine, and sports biomechanics. Offers support and encouragement to local communities through engagement in school and group appearances, youth camps, clinics, and nonprofit organizations. Afford basketball players the opportunity to make a living playing the game they love. Procure local individuals or groups an opportunity to own a professional sports business. Port City Power is the first maritime team to join the TBL. TBL has been, this is their 7th year in existence, so it's not a fly-by-night type of league. We play in the Eastern Conference. Other maritime teams are Halifax and Moncton. We're hoping that Bathurst will join. And we play all the way down as far as Tampa Bay. They're in our division. Our players come mainly from D1 and D2 programs or are already playing professionally in other leagues. They are trying to get to the next level, which include Europe, the G League, and the NBA. So three players from the TBL, 2 of them signed with the Lakers, and 1 of them signed with the Golden State Warriors. This will be the best basketball that St. John has ever seen. And there's a lot of good basketball in St. John, and St. Johners know basketball. Port City Power's first signing is a legend in the NBL and lives in St. John. He chose to stay here, Anthony Anderson. The all-time leading scorer in the NBL Canada, now called the Basketball Super League, which is also owned by the Magley family. Community involvement. These young men who come to our great city are put through a community involvement program where they learn and develop their community support skills. Our players are involved in, but not limited to, school presentations and camps, hospital visits, visits to Bobby's Hospice, serving at the soup kitchen, and also feeding our homeless brothers and sisters throughout the city. So I heard what Councillor Hickey said tonight, and one thing that I've done in the community is called Pizza and Prayer. And I developed that, and I started it, and it would be nothing on a Friday night for us to feed 300 people. And the also sad part is that it wouldn't be odd for 4 or 5 people to overdose during the time that we're serving pizza. So there's a tremendous need in our community. We help at-risk youth in programs such as Be Me Kids, Joshua Group, John Howard Society Portage, and any community group that needs our support. Our players, coaches, and I, the owner, are also available for business and corporate events. One thing that really attracted me to the TBL was that it had a missionary work aspect. And I don't mean that from a Christian perspective. The TBL has a ministry actors for young men involved in our program. We have a team of counselors available to our team, including but not limited to a Protestant minister, and that's going to be headed up by Brent Ingersoll at King's Church, the largest church this side of Montreal, I guess, and a Roman Catholic priest, an imam or an imam, a Jewish rabbi or elder, and a non-denomination secular counselor that these young men can tap into. And I think in our day and age right now, to have some of these religious men or women on the council, it might send a message to the world that we have to get along, that we're all brothers and sisters. The venue, our first 8 games will take place at TD Station, includes a $20,000 Battle of the Bands weekend, as well as an elite basketball tournament that includes teams from Montreal, Toronto, Halifax, Boston, and of course an all-star team from the St. John area that I'll be coaching. We play our last 6 games, possibly 8 games there, at the Lord Beaverbrook Rink, the LBR, which will be our new home. The LBR has been very welcome, and we look forward to its unique structure and atmosphere. The LBR has a 2,000 plus seats, which are all lower bowl, providing an incredibly exciting basketball and entertainment experience. We will be using TD Station's floor and have a need to store it on site. There's a space under the bleachers that provides ample space for the floor to be stored. However, it is in need of some renovations. And there are some pictures, I don't know, you probably have in your package.
Yeah, we've got
So it
that.
shows the space available. It's an unfinished space. It also shows the floor that leads up to it, which is boards. So there's 2 options. We can either fill that in with concrete, and or we can just build, supports, joists and all that of the floor and just continue that floor. You want to try to keep the character of the LBR, and we want to make an investment in the LBR as well. So for our sponsorship, Port City Power is asking the City of St. John for a $25,000 sponsorship. Port City Power is investing in a new score clock for the LBR. We are also asking the City of St. John to further contribute to the renovation of the floor storage space at the LBR. In return, the City of St. John will receive the most prominent advertising space we have, the center court. A link on our website and advertising on our site. We will also provide courtside advertising signage as well as advertising space for 2 programs the City of St. John sponsors. By the City of St. John stepping up and giving pro basketball a sponsorship for the very first time, it sends a message to other businesses and to the people of St. John that we are growing. St. John is a progressive and innovative city that wants to provide its citizens with as many unique and stimulating activities as possible. I'll now open the floor to questions if we have time.
Thank you, Jamie, for being here this evening and bringing that forward to us. Councillor, or Deputy?
Thank you, Bishop. Jamie, I really like what I'm hearing here. But what I would like to do is to fill in the gaps. And I think if I refer this to the city manager for exploration, you might be surprised at the results coming out, because I think you're asking for a couple of specific things.
Yes.
And there's things that we may be able to help with that you're not thinking of. So
Sure.
I'd like to refer this to the city manager, have it come back with a recommendation, okay? When does this basketball start?
We have our first exhibition game the same weekend as the high school finals, so it would be February the 20th.
Okay, so we got a little bit of time here.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'd like to make a motion then to refer this to the city manager for exploration. If I get a
Okay, I'll
second.
take a second to Councillor Norton, sure. Okay, I like that as well, because I think you've mentioned, ministry work there, you've mentioned community involvement there. So it'd be nice for the team to understand like the whole concept, not just
Yes.
basketball, and what's the social component of it as well, and then is there in-kind things that the city could do, especially with the floor? I don't know, so let them take a little bit of an exploration of that and then
Sure.
come back to us, okay? Councillor Ogden?
Yeah, I like it because you're giving people purpose. Coached all my life, and I know there's a lot more value than just playing in the game. And what I like about it is you're giving people purpose, and it could be purpose for life. And a lot of our people who are going to food banks and living in tents, when you talk to them, you get to know them, they lost a sense of purpose.
Yes.
So anything we can do at the earliest stage possible, so if you can work with the young ones, giving people a sense of purpose is a long way to solving drugs and trauma. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Okay. That looks like that's it for questions, and I've got a motion on the floor, so I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Unanimously carried. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much
very
for being
much.
here again. I love your enthusiasm for this, Jamie. It's great. Next item, City Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. Our second presenter isn't quite ready just
Okay.
yet. So if we could skip over to consideration of bylaws, we have
All
a
right.
number that we could get through relatively quickly. So the first one is 10.1, and it's a zoning bylaw amendment, rescission of previous conditions in Section 59 conditions at 461 to 475 Millage Ave.
Commissioner Poffenroff, over to you for the intro.
Oops. Thank you, Your Worship, and members of council. Before you this evening for third reading is a rezoning and Section 59 application, which was submitted for 461, 471, and 473 to 475 Millage Avenue. This application seeks to rezone the properties to allow for 2 multi-unit residential buildings. The application also includes rescinding Section 59 conditions for 461 and 473 to 475 Millage Avenue. The application received first and second reading on October 1st, following the required public hearing, and I can confirm that all legislative requirements of the Community Planning Act have now been met, and the item is before you to move forward with third reading. Thank you.
Thank you. City Clerk, over to you for the motions required.
Thank you. 4 council resolutions required on this one. Approve reading in entirety, rescission of previous Section 59 conditions, approve new Section 59 conditions, and approve third reading by title.
Okay, so I'll take a motion to approve reading by entirety. Councillor Stewart and Councillor Ogden on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
This is titled Bylaw to amend the zoning bylaw of the City of St. John. The zoning bylaw of the City of St. John enacted on the 15th day of December 2014 is amended by amending Schedule A, the zoning map of the City of St. John, by rezoning a parcel of land having an area of approximately, oh, there seems to be a little typo in here. Having an area of approximately 5,827 square meters located at 471 Millage Avenue and 473 to 475 Millage Avenue, also identified as PID numbers 000-41525 and 551-47797 from 1 unit residential and general commercial to mid-rise residential pursuant to a resolution adopted by council under Section 59 of the Community Planning Act.
Thank you. So now I'll take a motion for the rescission of previous Section 59s. Councillor Sullivan and Councillor Norton on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, and now I'll take a motion to approve new Section 59 conditions. The deputy and Councillor Radwan on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. And now I'll take a motion to approve reading by title. Councillor Sullivan and Councillor Hickey on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
A law to amend the zoning bylaw of the City of St. John.
Okay, next item, City Clerk.
Next is 10.2, a zoning bylaw amendment and rescission of previous Section 59 conditions for 665 to 669 Loch Lomond Road and 0 Commerce Drive.
Commissioner Poffenroth, back to you, please.
Thank you, Your Worship, and members of council. Before you for third reading is a rezoning application which was submitted by Americo Real Estate Company located at 665 to 669 Loch Lomond Road and 0 Commerce Drive. This application seeks to rezone the site to allow for a self-storage facility and associated vehicle rental. The application received first and second reading on October 1st, following the required public hearing, and I can confirm that all legislative requirements of the Community Planning Act have been met, and the item is now before you to move forward with third reading. Thank you.
Thank you. City Clerk, over to you for the motions, please. Required.
Thank you. This requires three motions: approve third reading by entirety, rescind Section 59, and approve third reading by title.
Okay, so I'll take a motion to approve reading by entirety. Councillor Lowe and Councillor Stewart on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
A law to amend the zoning bylaw of the City of St. John. The zoning bylaw of the City of St. John enacted on the 15th day of December 2014 is amended by amending Schedule A, the zoning map of the City of St. John, by rezoning a piece of land having an area of approximately 4.7 hectares located at 665 Loch Lomond Road, also identified as PID 551-02917, 669 Loch Lomond Road, also identified as PID 551-02925, and 0 Commerce Drive, also identified as PID 003-13155, from Business Park Commercial to Corridor Commercial.
Okay, thank you. So I will take a motion now for rescission of previous Section 59 conditions. Councillor Stewart and Councillor Lowe on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. And I will take a motion to approve reading by title. Councillor Hickey and the deputy on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
A law to amend the zoning bylaw of the City of St. John.
Next item, City Clerk.
And next is 10.3, a municipal plan and zoning bylaw amendment and Section 59 conditions and subdivision agreement for 0 Nason Road / Martha Avenue.
Commissioner Poffenroth, back to you for the intro.
Thank you, Your Worship, and members of council. Before you this evening for third reading is a rezoning application which was submitted for the site at 0 Nason Road and Martha Avenue. This application seeks to rezone PID 55086227 to allow for 2 70-unit residential buildings. The application received first and second reading on October 1st, following the required public hearing, and I can confirm that all legislative requirements of the Community Planning Act have been met, and the item is now before you to move forward with third reading. Thank you.
Thank you. City Clerk, over to you for the motions required tonight.
This one has quite a few. There are 6 motions required for this one because there's a municipal plan amendment and zoning. So for the municipal plan, we need 2 motions: approve the reading by its entirety and then approve it by title. For the zoning bylaw amendment, we need to approve third reading by entirety, approve Section 59 conditions, and approve reading by title. And then there's one more motion to approve a subdivision agreement.
Okay, so I will take a motion to approve reading by entirety. Deputy and Councillor Sullivan on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
A law to amend the municipal plan bylaw. The municipal plan bylaw of the City of St. John enacted on the 30th day of January 2012 is amended by 1, redesignating on Schedule A the municipal development plan, land having an area of approximately 6.78 hectares located on Nason Road, also identified as PID 550-86227, from park and natural area to stable area, and 2, redesignating on Schedule B of the municipal development plan, land having an area of approximately 6.78 hectares located on Nason Road, also identified as PID 550-86227, from park and natural area to stable residential.
Thank you. So I'll take a motion to approve reading by title. Councillor Lowe and Councillor Radwan on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
A bylaw number CP 106-34, a law to amend the municipal plan bylaw.
Okay, for the zoning bylaw amendment, I'll take a motion to approve reading by entirety. Councillor Hickey and Councillor Ogden on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
A law to amend the zoning bylaw of the City of St. John. The zoning bylaw of the City of St. John enacted on the 15th day of December 2014 is amended by amending Schedule A, the zoning map of the City of St. John by rezoning a parcel of land having an area of approximately 6.77 hectares located at 0 Nason Road / Martha Avenue, also identified as PID 550-86227, from future development to high-rise residential pursuant to a resolution adopted by Common Council under Section 59 of the Community Planning Act.
Thank you. I'll take a motion to approve Section 59 conditions. Councillor Lowe, Councillor Stewart on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. And I'll take a motion to approve reading by title. Councillor Ogden, Councillor Sullivan on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
A law to amend the zoning bylaw of the City of St. John.
And I'll take a motion for the subdivision agreement to authorize the preparation of and execution of one or more city developer subdivision agreements to ensure the provision of the required work and facilities related to road safety improvements and the installation of a crosswalk crossing Mark Drive. I'll take a mover, the deputy. Councillor Norton on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, City Clerk, next item.
We now have Mr. Willett available if we want to
Okay.
move back to the presentations.
Okay, so we're gonna, 8.2, are you gonna?
Yeah, so I will introduce this one. So this is item 8.2 on your agenda, and it's a presentation by the Fundy Regional Service Commission. It's a budget update, and we have CAO Phil Willett available, and he should be online right now.
Yeah, we see him up there on the screen. Mr. Willett, welcome tonight.
Nice to see you all. It's a familiar space for me.
Sure is. It's great here. All right, I'm going to turn this over to you for your presentation. We've got it in our kit here, so we've all had a chance to take a good look at it. I know you're going to bring us up to speed on it.
Great. I will, first, thank you for having me. I will share my screen and go through this presentation, and I am getting better at presenting it, so I will hopefully get this done in the time allotment. Can you see my presentation? If somebody could tell me that they can.
Yes, we can see it.
Perfect. Great. Thank you. So today's objective is to go through this budget with you quickly and ultimately to collect your feedback and questions that you might have as it relates to the budget. I'm not going to go through vision as well as the mandate of the FRC. I hope you have read the package and that has come to you. I'm also not going to review the 2023 annual report, but it is available. Please take a look at it. Happy to answer any questions related to it. I did want to just pause for one sec. This is a part of the presentation that I've skimmed through with other local governments, and I think it's important to expand a little bit on what the FRC has done and what it's doing. We're just about 2 years into this new mandate, these new mandates that have been provided to us, and in that short period of time, we've adopted a regional strategy. We've introduced 4 new committees. We've introduced a new office because of the space was limited at Crane Mountain. We've completed annual and replaced the Regional Facilities Commission, and now we have a Regional Facilities Committee. We've completed 8 studies or investigations, all related to ways we might be able to work together as a region in new ways. We've introduced various different programs and initiatives, included expanded urban rural rides, delivery of grant writing workshops for nonprofits, introduction of Sustainable Transportation Week. We received approval for the height augmentation for the landfill, which is a $22 million savings over 22 years. We've introduced new tracking technology for odors related to Crane Mountain, and we're currently finalizing the regional rail working group, which we're really excited to get started on. In that time, we've consistently advocated for our members to the province who is seeking of this more regional nature of local government, and we've not just advocated for regional matters, but for the interests of local governments. And, likely the most important thing of my time is relentlessly trying to access funding from third parties to reduce the burden on our members in terms of funding. So I wanted to make sure I go through that because it's really around the budget, and there's often questions about what are you doing and what have you progressed through so far. So I wanted to make sure I take a little time on that. The only other piece I wanted to cover here is on the summit. We have submitted this last week, save the date for November 28th, and one of the things we really want to improve on is we've improved the communication between our board members and the FRC with regional CAOs in the FRC, but the next step is really to improve this connection and ownership and helping to build the future of this regional collaborative model with each councillor of each member municipality. And we intend to bring everybody together on the 28th of November to help us build what the future of the FRC continues to look like and evolve what we have so far from our regional strategy and work plan. So please attend. If you have any questions about it, I'd be happy to respond. Okay, so for the budget, what I wanted to share, and this is kind of the preamble before I get into the numbers, is that we're really directed by our regional strategy, also the vision of our board. And the vision of our board, I know Deputy Mayor McKenzie is there, I believe I see him. The vision here is not to spend at all cost. It is also not to do nothing. The board has said, make the best of this. Let's find a way to continue to achieve new outcomes for regional-based initiatives where it's warranted, and let's try to make this work. So the mandate is to kind of what I would call flip some rocks, open some doors, see what is possible, and certainly getting great guidance and feedback from the regional group of CAOs among other partners in the region. We have a budget criteria that we use to develop. I'm not going to get into that, but happy to discuss. So these numbers have changed a little bit due to the budget scenarios, and just a warning in this presentation, there's a new slide that you've never seen, so be prepared. I'll tell you when it comes, but it is a new budget scenario that I'll share with you that is narrowing our trajectory towards an eventual recommendation. So the 2025 budget, it says it's about a $3.6 million increase here. It's probably more like a $3 million increase. One thing that's important is that our primary drivers of our expenditures remain our solid waste service. It's about half our budget. Regional facilities is about a quarter of our budget, and economic development is the next largest expenditure for us. So those three in itself account for about 90% of our total operating budget. You'll see here, this is how that 3, it says 3.5, but it's actually 3 in the budget scenario I've shared with you on how each department of the FRSC is a part of that net increase of the budget. So this is where I believe you will be the most interested because this is where we are sharing with you our budget scenarios. One thing that I've learned through this budget scenario, just before I go further, this does not account for the regional landfill. The landfill is financed entirely through tipping fees. So these are membership fees for all other services, and it does not include capital either budget. So this was the first budget we presented in September 5th. It was a little bit unfair because we had a bunch of irons in the fire to access more funding. So it was a pretty big shocker when we shared this, because it is a net increase of $1 million and certainly required much more discussions than initially expected. So this budget has changed significantly. There's now 5 versions of the budget. I'm going to go through them very quickly and then speak to the newest one. The next thing that happened with our budget is that we received funding from the province to finance a major initiative, which is the Aquatic Center Enhancement Study in 2025, and that was 40% funding for that study. So that was a shave off of the membership fees, which reduced it to a net increase of $790. Then we were successful in achieving another $70,000 from the province to finance the social mandate in 2025. So that's this amount in 720. It is really just for one staff person, as well as a continuation of a study. And then the budget you would have received in your package is this one. And essentially, it's a little confusing, but I'll do my best to explain it. I'm happy that Brett McGovern is there. In case I trip up, he can certainly help explain this. But we've removed this study for the next phase of the Aquatic Center enhancement, which is being done to host the Canada Games in 2029. We have a Class D estimate this year, and the vision is that next year we would transfer over to a newer class of design. And we projected that the cost could be in the $780,000 range. So it was budgeted in prior versions of the budget. But this could be financed through an alternative means, because we have available funds in each local government, because this year we received 40% funding from RDC to finance the 2024 regional facilities capital. And those savings can be used next year by our members to finance this particular study. So that's the way that project will be financed. Instead of placing it as new net membership fees, it will be financed simply through the accumulated reserves from each local government. So the only change I'd like to share with you is that I would like budget development as a fluid exercise, and after submitting this, we came to a new I believe consensus or direction that we're moving towards in the budget, and this is the version that is likely to become the final recommendation for the FRC Board of Directors, which is expected to vote on it on the 24th of October. And this one assumes all the same as the prior budget that you've seen, budget number 4, but in this one there's the removal of an aerial photography partnership that was integrated amongst 5 members, as well as a small reduction in the community development department. And this was done through feedback through the development process, as well as consulting with the CAOs. The aerial photography is still expected to occur next year, and the FRC is still trying to support the initiative through accessing funding through Service New Brunswick. So that will still be a major initiative. So in summary, over the last 5-6 weeks, we've dropped the budget from $1,060,000 to $412,000 through really listening and consulting through this exercise. And I really do believe that the most essential components of this budget remain in the budget. I did want to provide a little bit of feedback on what this budget really entails in terms of costs. The biggest costs that we have that are fixed are regional facilities operating capital. Those costs do not receive a subsidy from the province through what we call the Regional Services Support Fund, which is a 50-cent fund that the province created to support our regional service commissions. They're ineligible, so the full costs are borne on our members, and next year's regional facilities capital is $1.9 million versus this year's $1.5. So that's a cost that really does place greater pressure on members. The next one is cost to economic development and tourism promotion. That cost is one that is defined by a member service agreement that we have with Envision St. John. For the City of St. John, your costs are held at 2023 levels at 1.9, and the rest of the members are increasing incrementally. And if you may recall, that was to create greater proportionality with the total costs of economic development and tourism across the region. So that continues to be the spirit of that. The third expense that is of the highest nature of this $412,000 net increase is related to regional transportation, and that's really to follow up on some survey work that we did with UNB St. John with Julia Woodhull-Melnick this year in terms of the opportunity to expand regional transportation alternatives, especially for rural and low-income families across and individuals across the region. Happy to respond to more questions on this at the end of my presentation. I will burn through the rest of this very quickly. These were the irons in the fire that I spoke to earlier. Certainly can speak to this if there's questions. Next year, we are in line to access the most funding from the province at around $4 million. And if I'm successful at what I do, I'll try to make that even higher. So that's certainly still the outcome. Solid waste is half of our budget, so I'd be remiss not to share a little bit more on the solid waste budget. And the big change next year is that tipping fees, as you can see on the top column there, for municipal, institutional, industrial, and commercial will increase by $4, which is about the cost of living increase of 3% on our tipping fee. We have tried to hold off on this, but escalating costs on materials and the cost of doing business continue to rise. So that's the only cost increase that we have related to the tipping fee, is at $135 to $139. I did also want to mention that there are some other things happening that are drivers to increase some of the expenditures of the landfill. We are including greater capital into operating. We are also responding to the asset retirement obligations identified through our auditing process. The other major initiative is we went through what I believe is a very successful, thoughtful height augmentation exercise with the province. It was an environmental impact assessment, and it generated a lot of feedback, a lot of criticism, a lot of opportunities were identified, certainly a big initiative, and ultimately we were approved by the EIA, and the board approved the business case, so we are proceeding with the height augmentation. But part of that feedback that we received was also an opportunity for us to reflect on how we could provide better service. So these are a variety of initiatives in this green box that identify where we're going with improved initiatives, including improving order tracking, improving our public engagement and education. We're going to propose in this budget proposal a new host community economic development fund, and this would be eligible for the host community of the landfill, which includes components of St. John and components of Grand Bay Westfield. So this would be a new fund that would be created to help support economic activity in that particular region of our or area of our region, I should say. So again, happy to respond to more questions on this if there are any. Our capital budget this year is fairly consistent with last year, of past years, which is really around asset renewal and maintenance of existing facilities. It's at $1.9 million that will be done through borrowing. So lastly, and I think this is important, is that, of course, budgets are around expenditures and revenues, but it's often much more than that. It's also a direction of where we're heading. And, this budget really provides for the FRC to achieve value for our local governments and our members. It gives us more capacity for our new standing committees, for them to drive analysis and ultimately outcomes for our members. It helps us support the 2029 Canada Games and the Aquatic Centre enhancements that are required for that. It helps us navigate what is a new area for us in the social mandate and how the FRC can bring value to that. A greater capacity around regional climate planning, regional transportation. It's going through with a regional risk assessment, among others. And ultimately as well is to support our ongoing efforts to show rigor in service delivery on our regional facilities, as well as our economic development and tourism agencies. With that, we are at the end of our 45-day review period. It's coming to an end soon, and we're happy to present this to St. John Council and really interested to hear feedback or questions that Council might have. With that, I will stop sharing and leave it to Mayor to provide some feedback.
Thanks, Phil. I know there's no decision for us to make this evening. It's just a receive and file. Do have a couple of questions here. For anyone that isn't aware, the deputy is our rep on the Fundy Regional Service Commission. I did like budget number 5, which wasn't in our kit that you presented tonight. I think that's my favorite so far. Anyway, I will hand it off to Councillor Ogden. Did you have a question for Phil?
Yes, I have a suggestion, Phil. I'd like you to follow up on it. Canada became an urban country 30, 40 years ago, but New Brunswick recently became an urban province, especially with the new 75,000 people who basically came to 3 areas in southern New Brunswick. And it's changed the climate of New Brunswick. It's no longer a division between French and English. It's more predominantly English speaking, but many, many mixtures of cultures and languages. So we've changed. Certainly the tax system that was created 63 years ago does not reflect the change, and it's one of our number one priorities. But what I'd like you to do is investigate. You said that you wanted to see the region work closer together. So going from a rural area, we didn't just become cities, we became metro areas. And basically Canada is a country, and New Brunswick is a province of metro areas. And thus why your reason for being. Charlotte County was put into our school board, and it was never there before. It never made any sense to be there. And Sussex was added to our school board, and again, the same thing. So if you look at the metro area of St. John, which is basically metro from LaPro to Hampton, that's really the metro area of St. John. So that's really the area you should be representing in as many ways as possible, and if you want to work together. So Charlotte County, who always had their own school board, I think should have their own school board in, and Sussex too, but that would be a way for you to collaborate more, and I'd like you to find out if that's possible. And I've written both federal and provincial boundary changes. It happens every 10 years, but they do make changes, small changes. For instance, Redhead was in with Gary Crossman at Hampton, and it's no longer there. It didn't make any sense because it's not just demography, not just populations, but it's also what they call the communities of interest. And certainly Redhead had no interest with Hampton. Well, Accomack and Laurenville, which once was West St. John and with Grand Bay Westfield, have been removed from both. So Laurenville, tonight we had Laurenville people here talking about industrial parks and everything, yet their MLA is from St. George. That doesn't make any sense to me. And Accomack is in there. And then if you take, say, a Brittany Westfield and Grand Bay Westfield, she'd have more interest with Accomack and Laurenville too. So I'd like you to investigate if we can go to metro areas, true metro areas, which is what you really represent, and that would make more collaboration. And those are all, don't let anybody throw you off, say, oh, that's every 10 years. That's not totally true. So would you investigate those things for me, please?
Thank you, Councilor Ogden. I'll pass that over to you, Phil, if you want to take a quick response to it.
Sure, yeah. We're starting to see some of these, Councilor Ogden, through you to the chair, is that this is coming through the Local Governance Commission, which is not the Regional Service Commission, but we are seeing adjustments. And certainly the vision that I've heard is that the province has established this commission to receive these types of requests of boundary changes, not just at the Regional Service Commission level, but also at the local government level. And, if they're going to uphold that vision, I could see a lot of changes because I think you're right. There's a lot of feedback on how you could coordinate and divide this province into regions that make good sense. So I think you're going to see some immediately in terms of these tweaks that occur, but a large scale one could happen. It could be through the commission that could make the request, the Regional Service Commission, or it could be through local governments that are provided as well. So it's certainly a good piece of feedback for us to consider as we navigate this new space with the Local Governance Commission.
Does St. Stephen and Sussex each have their own regional commissions?
Yes, they do. LaPro is part of the Western.
So it makes sense to them to own what they own.
Yeah, I'll come back to you, Councillor, because we're at like about 4.5 minutes here. Can I go to Councillor Sullivan?
Thanks, Your Worship. Thanks, Phil, for the presentation. First, I do appreciate the summit. I would appreciate if perhaps yourself and the committee going forward could consider that many members of councils work during the day and try to have a summit when it might be accessible to all councillors. So I'll just throw that out there. With regards to the budget, just, the challenge that our deputy mayor has for folks who are watching and seeing this go by pretty quickly is for the 4 million of the 7.6 million budget that's coming from the city of St. John. So just to point out that, while our deputy is one of many around the table, the budget you're responsible for is over 50% funded by the citizens of the city of St. John. The challenge is from an ROI perspective, as now that you've found your feet, you're moving forward, being a numbers guy, I would really appreciate as many numbers as you can give moving forward so that we can see as a city, what's the return on our $4 million investment for the region, to be working with the region, if that makes sense.
Yeah, through the mayor to Councillor Sullivan, I think this is critical. As we're really standing up, I think this is the nature of a startup environment. We were a landfill, 18 months ago, and now we're trying to be something different. And there is, I do believe there is an understanding of that and acknowledgement of that, and that's why these incremental costs are seen in that light. But you're absolutely right. Over time, that will run out. That scale will decrease and say, okay, now you're off. You're flying now. And ultimately, for us to be successful, we require this region to bring forward ideas and for the commission to generate ideas that will bring value. So, the summit, interactions with the CAOs, our committees, that's what has to come out of there. We need ideas on where we should collaborate on, because if we've got nothing will happen. And for us, that becomes really important. So as we look at and investigate and analyze different opportunities, let's pick the ones that are the highest likelihood of generating value for all our members, including, in the City of St. John's case, if you're a shareholder of the Regional Service Commission, you're a 50% or 53% shareholder. It's a significant case, so it's a major importance for myself as a CEO to make sure that St. John sees a value in where we're pursuing and how we're pursuing it. But it requires a will for all involved to say, these are the areas that we really want to see opportunity. Not just what the province defines, but what we want as a region. And that becomes very important as the startup dwindles off.
No, thanks for that, Phil. That's why I was suggesting on how to go for it. So, a year from now, when you're 2.5 years old, I'm hoping to start seeing some numbers.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Redwan, over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to Phil. Thank you so much, Phil, for your presentation. I have 2 questions and a comment. So in your mandate before, you had listed diversity and inclusion, and I didn't see anything, and maybe help me, maybe I missed something. Is there anything in there now? And of course, I know that Envision has taken away St. John Lip. So that's my first question.
Yeah, we do have a kind of an equity, diversity, inclusion framework, which is through the community development lens. So we still exercise that. We do it in partnership with Envision St. John, as they are really the leads around retention and recruitment of newcomers, which is also part of our mandate. So we would embed that within the contract we have with Envision St. John. And this is a space that we haven't dove into immediately. We're still trying to define how the region would like us to play a role in that space on equity, diversity, and inclusion, which includes our efforts around every institution's efforts around truth and reconciliation, among other efforts to support those in our community. So, it will be an ongoing effort. It's an ongoing conversation amongst our regional partners on where we can provide value in that space.
Well, your social mandate budget looked very small, so I'm not sure you could do it for $44,000. That's what it looked like it was. And I guess it's very important to have immigrants obviously a part of these conversations, as we're changing so much demographics here. But I'm also just, I would love for you to be mindful, and I'm also wondering how you're going to make sure that everybody's included, because we do have people that have lived here for decades and now on to the second generation of residents, right? Like maybe their parents came over from Lebanon or grandparents, and now the generations are growing up here. But the other thing is we also need to also just not be limited, also thinking of persons of color that have always lived here their whole lives for generations and generations, persons with disabilities. So how are we going to keep in mind all of these groups, the Indigenous people, for example, not just our new residents, but including them as well, obviously. So I'm just kind of wondering how are you going to be including all of these demographics in kind of everything that you're doing? Do you have a policy? Is there anything that you have framed up?
A great question, and I thank you for the question. As of now, we do have a strategy around truth and reconciliation. We are working with ESIC, which is a funder of the FRSC, which does support a variety of equity, diversity, and inclusion efforts within the community. So we are involved in that regard. But for your question in terms of engagement, I think it's a really good one. And I think it does invite just a clarification that's important, is that the FRSC certainly trying to provide value to our members, and our members are defined by each local government. And we are also cautious not to create a direct relationship with citizens at the expense of each local government. So this relationship that the City of St. John has created with its citizens, we don't want to confuse citizens and say, oh, okay, who's the FRC and they do public safety now? No, see, that's confusing. Our primary member is actually the City of St. John, the institution of the city, and we want to make sure that whatever we do is complementary and supports the interest, especially as it relates to the citizens they represent. So we've been cautious to go out too quickly with a big awareness and education campaign to citizens, because we're really starting at the local government level, establishing those relationships and partnerships. So yes, if there are initiatives that are being developed, we would be happy to expand this to a larger group. In our efforts, we do have committees that provide feedback. We invite different speakers to those committees, and also councillors from across the region are also part of this as well. So I believe we're still in this kind of earlier stage. Instead of just developing relationships with citizens directly, the focus will be, for at least the next couple of years, really establishing a stronger bond with councillors, senior staff at the local level, to help us guide how to interact and build these lasting relationships without compromising the relationship between citizens and local governments.
Yeah, that's great, Mayor. I do have a comment if you want to come back to me. I don't know, Mayor.
No, just when you finish us off, and then I'll
Okay.
put my comments in.
Yeah, no, that's great, Phil. I really appreciate that. I mean, I think that I think we have to keep in mind that I feel like there's a certain demographic that is feeling very disconnected when we're doing a lot of things, and that is persons that have disabilities. So something to really keep in mind. But I also wanted to say it's really good to see us kind of coming together and collaborating as a region now, because the burden of the regional facilities, for example, used to weigh heavily on the City of St. John when everybody needed them and used them, and we wanted everybody to participate in them. So I think now I'm hoping that the whole region is going to really feel a sense of ownership, and so we can all encourage people to go out to these big events. And if we get any big games coming, we'll be really pushing everybody into these facilities so that everybody will benefit. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Councillor. Thanks, Phil, for being here. I guess from my perspective is that, you've got some wins there, the Crane Mountain, but I'd love to see us look at what's a best practice. Where are we going? Is our landfills still a thing? You've got the leachate later on. How can we have some out of the box thinking, I guess, on that as we go forward? Tipping fees, that's a disincentive to creating garbage. How do we reduce, packaging from the producer, like how do we put those costs back onto producers so that it's not always the consumer who has limited choices. And you've got your climate mitigation and adaptation strategy. And, you know, we developed our own and adopted it in 2019. And we've got the corporate and the community GHG energy and action plan. And we've got in that a couple of other things that, so there's a couple of different plans that complete that. We've, you know, and we have heavy industry that's lining up with those plans. That would probably be our biggest GHG emission. Transportation's right after that. We have 20,000 vehicles coming in every day into the city almost. So like we've got a lot of that groundwork already done. And since we're the major, you know, industrial city, like it seems like it would be just to see what everybody else has and to sort of amalgamate those plans because we've been working on them for a few years now. And I said, refer to everyone to Samir because he knows everything about this. So I guess those are a couple of things I just like to leave with you for food for thought. But thanks for being here tonight. And I'm going to take a motion to receive for information from Councillor Hickey and the deputy. And on the question, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks again, Phil. See you next time.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Next item, City Clerk. Okay, the basketball team's leaving us. Good night, folks. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Your Worship. So next on the agenda is under consideration of bylaws, item 10.4, and it's a traffic bylaw amendment, Charlotte Street, third reading.
This one's going over to Commissioner Hugenholtz to introduce, please.
Thank you and good evening, Your Worship, members of council. These comments would apply to the next two items, 10.4 and 10.5. So before you this evening is a third reading of some amendments to both the traffic and parking bylaws on Charlotte Street that are required to enable some of the changes through the more recent Charlotte Reimagination project. Specifically, this is going to allow for the installation of a dedicated bike lane on the west side of Charlotte Street. But there are some changes that need to happen with respect to on-street parking and the direction of the flow of traffic in a certain section. So the first and second reading would have been considered by this council earlier this year, and now that we're approaching the completion of these projects, it would be appropriate to give third reading at this time. Subject to your questions, I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you so much. City Clerk, over to you for the motions required tonight.
Only two motions for each of these, reading in entirety and reading by title.
Okay, for 10.4, I will take a motion to approve reading by entirety. Councillor Stewart and Councillor Lowe on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
And I'm afraid, Your Worship, I do have to read this one in entirety.
Is it long?
So I'll try to do it quickly. A bylaw of the City of St. John entitled a bylaw respecting the traffic on streets in the City of St. John, bylaw MV 10.1 and amendments thereto, enacted on the 7th day of October 2019 is hereby amended as follows. 1. Schedule A, parking for specified times 0800 to 2200 is amended by deleting the following word under the following headings. Charlotte Street, St. James, or James Street to 0.12 meters south thereof on both sides, 15 minutes. Number 2, Schedule A1, parking for specified times 0800 to 1700 is amended by deleting the following words under the following headings. Charlotte Street, both sides, limits Queen Square North to Vulcan Street, 2-hour time limit. Charlotte Street, both sides, Princess to Duke Street, 2 hours. Charlotte Street, west side, Civic number 201 to Civic number 239 for 2-hour time limit. Charlotte Street, west side, Union Street to North Market Street, 2-hour time limit. Number 3, Schedule A1, parking for specified times 0800 to 1700 is amended by adding the following words into the following headings. Charlotte Street, east side, Queen Square North to Broad Street, 2-hour time limit. Charlotte Street, both sides, Broad Street to Vulcan Street, 2-hour time limit. Charlotte Street, east side, Princess Street to Duke Street, 2 hours. Schedule B, no parking anytime is amended by deleting the following words into the following headings. Charlotte Street, east side, limits Duke Street to Broad Street. Charlotte Street, west side, limits North Market Street to King Square. Number 5, Schedule B, no parking anytime is amended by adding the following words under the following headings. Charlotte Street, west side, limits Union Street to Broad Street. Number 6, Schedule D, one-way streets, is amended by deleting the following words under the following headings. Charlotte Street limits Union Street to Duke Street, direction southerly. Number 7, Schedule D, one-way streets, is amended by adding the following words under the following headings. Charlotte Street, limit Union Street to St. James Street, direction southerly. Number 8, Schedule E, prohibited left turns, is amended by adding the following words under the following headings. Street, Harding Street, direction easterly, turns prohibited, Charlotte Street. Number 9, Schedule F, prohibited turns, is amended by adding the following words under the following headings. Street, Queens Square North, direction westerly, turns prohibited, Charlotte Street. Street, St. James Street, direction westerly, turns prohibited, Charlotte Street. Number 10, Schedule G, alternate side parking, is amended by deleting the following words under the following headings. Street, Charlotte Street, limits Princess Street to Duke Street. Street, Charlotte Street, limits Queen Square to end. 11, Schedule G, alternate side parking, is amended by adding the following words under the following headings. Street, Charlotte Street, limit Broad Street to end. 12, Schedule I, no overnight parking, is amended by deleting the following words under the following headings. Charlotte Street limits entire frontage of Civic number 239. 13, Schedule M, loading zones, is amended by deleting the following words under the following headings. Street, Charlotte Street, side west, limits commencing at a point 26 meters north of Princess Street and extending 9 meters northerly. Street, Charlotte Street, side west, commencing at a point of 5.4 meters south of Princess Street and extending 9.6 meters southerly. 14, Schedule M, loading zone, is amended by adding the following words under the following headings. Charlotte Street, east side, limits commencing at a point 5.4 meters south of Princess Street and extending 9.6 meters southerly. 15, Schedule N, streets for residential zone parking permits, is amended by deleting the following words under the following headings. Street, Charlotte Street, both sides, limits Queen Square to north to Vulcan Street. Charlotte Street, both sides, Civic number 201 to Civic number 215. Charlotte Street, both sides in front of Civic number 239. Number 16, Schedule N, streets for residential zone parking permits, is amended by adding the following words under the following headings. Street, Charlotte, both sides, limits Broad Street to Vulcan. Charlotte Street, east side, Queen Square north to Broad Street. Charlotte Street, east side, Civic number 201 to Civic number 215. And finally, Charlotte Street, east side, in front of Civic number 239.
Thank you, Jonathan. Commissioner, just to boil this all down, we're basically moving our parking all over to the east side of Charlotte Street, correct? And there'll be some one-way things and no left turns where it's impossible, et cetera. So that's basically it in a nutshell. Thank you. Okay, so I will take a motion to approve reading by title. Councillor Sullivan and the deputy on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
A bylaw to amend a bylaw respecting the traffic on streets in the City of St. John, bylaw number MV 10.1 and amendments thereto.
Thank you. Next item.
Next is the final bylaw amendment, and it's 10.5 on your agenda, parking law bylaw amendment for Charlotte Street.
Okay, you can give me the two motions required since the commissioners already introduced both of those.
Again, motion to approve by entirety and motion to approve by title. This one is quite a bit shorter, though.
Okay, I'll take a motion to approve reading by entirety. Councillor Ogden and the deputy on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Yeah, this is only one pager, Your Worship. So,
Excellent.
So a bylaw of the City of St. John entitled Bylaw Respecting the Regulation of Parking in the City of St. John, bylaw number LG 8 and amendments thereto, enacted on the 27th day of January 2020, is hereby amended as follows. 1. Schedule A parking zones is amended by deleting the following words under the following headings. Street, Charlotte Street, both sides, limits King Square South to Duke. Charlotte Street, both west side, Duke Street to Queen Street. and Charlotte Street West Side, Union Street to North Market Street. And number 2, Schedule A parking zones is amended by adding the following words under the following headings. Street, Charlotte Street, East Side limits King Square South to Duke.
Thank you. And I'll take a motion to approve reading by title. Councillor Lowe and Councillor Sullivan on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
A bylaw to amend a bylaw respecting the regulation of parking in the City of St. John, bylaw number LG8, and amendments thereto.
Thank you very much. Okay, next item, City Clerk.
Next, we have item 13.1. It's a committee report from Finance Committee, 2025 draft general and utility fund capital budgets.
Thank you. I'm going to send this one over to Councillor Sullivan, who is the Chair of Finance Committee. Councillor?
Thank you, Your Worship, Council, staff, and citizens. What we have before us tonight for receive and file is the recommendation from your Finance Committee for the draft capital budgets for the general and utility fund. Some highlights for your consideration. Both of these budgets have been reviewed by your Finance Committee at its July and September meetings and was unanimously endorsed to bring forward to Common Council. They represent a combined total of $54 million in investment in the community for next year. Over $24 million of that has been sourced from contributions from other levels of government. So certainly we thank our provincial and federal partners for their support in our projects. The general fund budget reflects an investment of just under $40 million with $18.8 million from other government sources. Our own share is a combination of borrowing, pay-as-you-go, and capital reserves. While next year we are borrowing $9 million more in line with our financial policies, we are retiring $11.6 million next year. The general fund budget covers a wide range of reinvestment into city assets, including regional facilities, asphalt resurfacing, street reconstruction, traffic safety and calming, various facilities, new ERP, city market strategic plan, and St. John Transit. New investments include an extension of Harbor Passage, Rainbow Park, a new pickleball court, new roundabout, and continued investment in Atoli Makahamak, the gathering space. The utility fund budget is an investment of $14 million with $8.3 million coming from pay-as-you-go and capital reserves, and there will be no new debt issued for 2025. Those projects include investment to enhancing the reliability of the water and wastewater systems, improvements to the city's watershed, and key investments to support city's growth objectives. Certainly, the reason we bring this as a receive and file tonight, there's a lot of information there, and should councillors, having absorbed it in my comments tonight, wish to ask staff over the next couple of weeks for clarification on items, you have that opportunity, and it'll be before us in 2 weeks' time for final approval.
Thank you, Councillor. I love this budget. 54 million, 24 of it coming from other sources is fantastic in my books. Councillor Ogden, you had a quick question?
Can I make a comment?
Certainly.
Okay. Just for the public to know, we pay I believe our people who own our homes pay far too much in taxes. And there's no reason for that because St. John generates a lot of tax dollars. We should be a very wealthy city as opposed to having such high poverty rates. And so I encourage people to learn as much as they can and to give us their feedback on these enormous tax dollars that homeowners are paying when we have industrial tax money. And I'm not saying that industry has to pay more taxes. It's just not coming to St. John. I think a lot of people still misunderstand that. It's gone on for 63 years. And I really hope that we start taking care of our sidewalks, maintenance, and our recreational facilities, because we have gone downhill in those areas. And when you're wondering why, sometimes you're paying what you're paying, the money is generated in St. John. It's not staying here. Like, there's no logical reason for this, except the tax system that's 63 years old that doesn't make any sense, that hurt St. John and is still hurting St. John. So when people say the past doesn't matter, it does if the system's still in place. So I want people in the city to know that those enormous tax dollars you're paying, that can be partly alleviated by us getting our industrial tax money and those asphalt sidewalks and rundown rinks. That can be alleviated if we change the tax system. The tax system doesn't work well for our university. We have the smallest university in Atlantic Canada, and that hurts our population, and that also hurts our poverty. So the money's there, folks. We just got to educate everybody to come together and say we need to change some systems. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Sullivan, you moved that, correct? Thank you. I'll take a seconder on that. Deputy, on the question? All in favor? Opposed?
Oh, Mayor, sorry.
Councillor, did you have your hand up? Go ahead.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. So I just wanted to say, first of all, just a comment really for staff. Thank you very much. There's a lot of this, and it's really hard to figure out, I'm sure, where to put our investments. Very happy to see the Glen Road on there. It's part of the Glen Road and looking after the dam there. I'm hoping that if the recreation facility, if we find a big pot of cash to help with that, that a splash pad will end up being part of that for the east side. But the other thing that I just like to mention to staff is I'm really hoping that as we go forward, that we do make a plan, short-term and long-term plan on how to make our buildings and our infrastructure accessible. I was really remiss to see some challenges that are even at City Hall in getting into the building and getting into the bathrooms even. So, I'd like us to, make a long wish list and maybe, start, tackling some things early on and some other things could be happening long term. But it's really important that that people are not being kept out of public space. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. So I'll call that question again so I can get the hands up. All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Next item, City Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. Next is an item that was removed from consent. So it was item 5.6 on consent, retail drive realignment.
Okay,
And
that's
now-
Councillor Radwan and Councillor Stewart. Have a conflict on this one, 5.6.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you. Seconded by the deputy on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Come on back in. Okay, Councillor Radwan's back as well. Next item, City Clerk.
Next is item 15.1, general correspondence. It's a letter regarding Lornville Trail Riders Club request to amend municipal traffic bylaws. There's a recommendation from staff to refer this to the Public Safety Committee.
Deputy's moving it. Councillor Sullivan seconding on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Motion carried. Next item.
And the final items are the items that came from Committee of the Whole. So the first one of those would be 17.1, Bill of Sale, Equipment, Damascus Restaurant City Market, and the resolution would be, now therefore be it resolved that the city accept the sale of equipment as listed in the bill of sale attached as part of the MNC 2024-273 with House of Damascus Restaurant, Inc., and further that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to execute the necessary documents.
Deputy's moving. Councillor Sullivan seconding on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Next item.
Next is 17.2. It's an amended zoning requirement in APS of former Bellier Arena, and the resolution would be as follows. That the resolution regarding the sale of lands at 400 Lowell Street passed on October 1st, 2024 be amended as follows. One, that subject to a corporation titled Bellier Village Limited being properly constituted under the laws of the province of New Brunswick, the city enter into an agreement of purchase and sale with Bellier Village Limited, generally in the form as presented to Committee of the Whole at its meeting held on October 15, 2024, for the sale of property located at 400 Sewell Street, PID 003-94940 and PID 004-71540, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute the said agreement of purchase and sale and any other documents necessary to facilitate the transaction, and two, that the proceeds of the sale of said transaction, as stated in the said agreement of purchase and sale, be deposited into the Strategic Real Estate Reserve.
Deputy is moving it. Councillor Lowe on the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Next item, City Clerk.
And the final item, 17.3.
Hang on, we've got two conflicts on this one. Okay. Over to you.
The final item is the date of coming into force for stop-up and closure of Retail Drive. The resolution reads that the amendment to bylaw number LG 4.1, a bylaw respecting the closing of roads, streets, or highways in the city of St. John relating to the stop-up and closure of a portion of Retail Drive, which received third reading at Common Council's February 20th, 2024 meeting, shall come into force 30 days following the issuance of a certificate of final completion for the Retail Drive Realignment Project as defined at section 6.20.05, the city's general specifications for that project, and in any event, no later than March 31, 2027.
Councillor Sullivan's moving it. Councillor Norton, you're seconding it. Thank you. On the question? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Excellent. That's our last item for the evening. Councillor Lowe, over to you. Councillor Lowe is moving that the meeting be adjourned. Do I have a seconder? No. Councillor Ogden. All in favor? Thanks, everyone. Thanks for being here. Thank you, staff, for all the great work tonight in the kit. Oh, yeah. Before we go, yes, we have a political junkie in the audience tonight. Come on down here. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are.
Hey, would you sign this?
Councillor Sullivan's daughter's going to come down here.